Good morning, students. I'm Shaila Gul, your psychology teacher. We are doing methods of inquiry in psychology, chapter number 2. Students, in this session, we are going to understand how the data is collected. We know that we need data for the method of inquiry, and we don't use only one method or a single method for collecting data. In this session, we want to guide you how to select the method which may be appropriate for different research purposes like observation and case study. We are going to focus on these two methods in this slide. Now students, what is a case study? To understand this better, let us go through this. Case study can be on anything. Case, what is a case? Case is an event, problem, process, activity, program. It can be a single person or a several people. So an event can be COVID-19. It has to be bounded system. Boundaries of the case needs to be set in the timeline or the space. I have to set up my area of the case study. I have to set up the time period of the case study. It cannot continue for a long, unended time. There are multiple sources of data in the case studies. It can be qualitative data or the quantitative data. Qualitative data can be added through interviews, observation, documents, artifacts, etc. Case study needs multiple methods to understand the whole case. Case studies use many forms of data to have an in-depth understanding of the case. We can't just go and study something and say that yes, case study has been done. Case study needs lots of methods, and it can be on any institute. For example, you can do on Janki Das or the meteorological department. It can be on single person like me. It can be a group of children, teenagers, right? It can be some activity. What kind of an activity you can talk about? You can talk about studying through online, right? It can be an event, that a marriage. What is a case study about that thing? Or some pandemic, right? So we understand case study through multiple ways, and we try to understand the problems in that are occurring in the case. Now students, let us understand it more. An in-depth study of an individual, group or event is examined in detail, often using several techniques. It provides rich descriptive information, often suggesting hypotheses for further study. It can study rare phenomena in depth. Focus is on the subject and not on the method. In some case studies, we are not worried about the method we are using. We use number of methods, but what we want to focus on is the subject. We want to focus on the subject and get the things clear, right students? Now the case we select for the study are unique and therefore are rich in information. A case study can involve the fears, hopes, traumatic events, parental upbringings, and so on. That helps us to understand a person's mind and behavior. It provides a narrative and detailed descriptions of the event that takes place in the person's life. See, it is very important in the clinical psychology. So, we cannot ignore case studies. What is a disadvantage? Yes, every method has some disadvantage. In case study, it is very difficult to establish a cause and effect relationship between the variables. The person or event may not be representative of the problem. Often relies heavily on researchers' subjective interpretation. So we are doing interviews, observation. One person is conducting that. and the conclusion will come according to his subjective understanding. So it depends on the subjective interpretation. And maybe you are trying to understand tsunami, and you are studying the coastal areas of Kerala. It may not be the right representation of all the tsunami hit areas like Japan, like other parts of India, right? So we can't take it for the whole of the world by understanding only one small area, right? So students, for case studies, you you need to be a little bit wider. Sometimes you have to do multiple case studies to generalize the data. Next is observation. Now, what is observation? Observation is one way to collect primary data. It is purposeful, systematic, selective way of watching and listening to the interaction or phenomena as it takes place. Observation is technique for collecting all the data or acquiring information through occurrence that can be observed. We use our senses to observe this data. It has two parts, the observer and the one who is being observed. It is both physical and mental activity because the observing eye catches many things, and but attention is focused on the data that is required. Observation is selective, that means researcher cannot select all the data. See, he has to be selective in what he is observing. There are number of things that are happening at a time, but we have to be selective which data has to be observed and which is not to be observed. Observation is always purposeful, it is not casual. It is made for the scientific purpose of noting things relevant to study. Listen students, the non purposive or the casual observation is that we do in our homes or in our neighborhood. We see our neighborhood and say, this person is like that, this person is like that. Mother observes you and says something. That is casual, that is not purposive. For mother it may be purposive, for neighbors it is not purposive. So when we are doing it for some study, it has to be very very focused. It captures the natural social context in which person's behavior occur. We are not doing the observation in complete control settings. If we are not doing in the control settings, then whatever we are observing will be natural occurring. Okay, there will be no changes in the behavior. It grabs the significant events and occurrence that affect social relations of the participants. Observation should be exact and be based on the standardized tools of research such as observation schedule, social metric scale, and precise instruments, if any. Now students, we have to understand what kind of an observation we have to make, how we have to analyze, which group we have to follow. The purpose of observation is to study the behavior as it actually happens, right? It helps in snapshot comprehension of the activities of the person in real life or social life. Another purpose of observation is to provide graphic description of real life that can be acquired in other ways. There are so many areas of life about which we have few thorough descriptions and much is taken granted. Now there are many types of observation. One is participant and non-participant. Second is systematic and unsystematic observation. We will study in both the types of observation. The process of observation includes choosing a research site where we have to do, jotting down the notes, gaining access to the data. Now, what are the merits? It is a superior data collection in the normal behavior. It is intimate and informal relationship is held between the observer and the observee. It can occur in the natural environment. It is easily to complete and saves time. It can be done in the longitudinal analysis. Now students, you have to understand there are various ways in which we have to understand this, but it is for observation, it is a limited study, and the observer bias can also come into it. So students, to understand this, let us understand the different types of observation turn wise. Now what you have understood till now, that we first select the area, we select the sample on which we have to do the observation, then we record the selected behavior, and then we analyze the behavior. Now first is naturalistic observation. Behavior is observed in the setting in which it naturally occurs. It can provide detailed information about the nature, frequency, and context of natural occurring behavior, and these results can be generalized. For example, the psychologists, biologists, zoologists observe the various animals and the fishes and other for years and years. This is naturalistic observation. Now what is the disadvantage? It is a poor method for establishing cause and effect relationship. Observers' presence, if known, may influence participants' behavior. It is labor intensive method and extraneous variables cannot be controlled. For example, I will explain each and every point. You can't understand cause and effect relationship because the cause of the behavior can be multiple, right? And if a person who is being observed knows that you are there, their behavior can be changed. They may get conscious, or they may get a little bit of वो अब चौकन्ने हो सकते हैं, वो एग्रेसिव हो सकते हैं. Why are you observing them, right? And they can be little bit alert, right? It needs lots of the observer's time. You have to be there for hours and hours at an end, right? And for number of hours as well as number of days. So it is very labor intensive. Extraneous variable, if you are watching supposingly sharks, and if there is a turmoil in the ocean, can you control it? No. If a vessel or a ship or a yacht comes and disturbs the shark, can you control it? No. We cannot control the extraneous variable in the naturalistic observation. Next is controlled observation. Now controlled observation is in the laboratory situation. This is also called controlled laboratory observation. In this, behavior is observed in the laboratory settings. Goals and procedures are predetermined and few extraneous variables are controlled, so they do not affect the results. For example, if we want to observe the 2-year-old, if we observe them in the ground, they will have wide scope of things to do. And if we observe them in the laboratory, where they have fewer number of things to distract them, we can observe their limited behavior for a limited period of time, and there will be no extraneous factors that can interfere in the study in the laboratory, right? So the disadvantage is the external validity is low. When we apply the results in the natural settings, the results are low. The correlation is low. Why? Because the extraneous variable in the natural settings are there, which were controlled in the laboratory settings. So in the laboratory settings or the controlled observation, the external validity is low. Now the next one is participant observation. Observer is a part of the activity that is to be observed, and results can be generalized. Data is in context of natural occurring behavior. Now students, to understand this, let us be a CEO of a company, and my sales of that company are reducing. So I am the CEO and the sales of my company are reducing, and I have a big departmental store. Now what can I do? If nobody recognizes me, I can do some makeover. I can be part of the sales team, and as a salesman I can observe what is going wrong in my own department. That kind of a thing will be a participant observation. Now similarly, if you want to be I can give you an example of our movie Main Hoon Na, where Shah Rukh Khan becomes a student to observe other students. That was a participant observation, right? So sometimes we can change our format and be the part of the group and see the working of the group by being the part, and we will observe more. What is the disadvantage of this kind of observation? It is time consuming. Second is observer bias can affect the result. See, if I am the part of that sales team, I can be a friend with somebody, or I may listen to few things and ignore other things, or maybe I have a words with one of the salesperson. I will get biased towards him, right? And the person who has been friendly to me, I may be biased towards him also in a positive way. And the person with whom I had a word, I can be biased in a negative way. So few things I may ignore in my observation. It can result in the observer's bias. So it is not the perfect method, but it is very good method of observing. Now next is non-participant observation. Observation is done in the natural setting part of the activity that is to be observed. It is a structured procedure, so data is precise and reliable. Observer bias is controlled. Now, for example, if I want to understand the activities of 2-year-old, I can sit in the classroom and observe them. I can sit in the corner of the ground and observe them. I can use binoculars. I am not the participant of the group, but I am watching the group to understand the behaviors that are occurring. Little bit biasness is coming less because I am not the part of the group. I don't know the observants, so I am free from bias. For me, everyone will be equal. So observer bias is reduced in natural non-participant observation. The disadvantage is that if I am present in the class, the 2-year-olds or the 12-year-olds or the 18-year-olds may get conscious. If I am present in the ground and if they think that I am observing them, they may get conscious. So every method has some advantages and disadvantages, but we have to use them according to the requirement of the study. Observer should record the behavior as it happens and should not interpret the behavior at the time of the observation itself, because when we are doing at the same time we will overlook few things, right? We should think properly and then make the precise observations and the result analysis of our observation. I hope students you have understood these methods properly and you will revise them thoroughly. Thank you, students.